Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Wordpress theme tutorial. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we're going to continue on with our little theme of developing some custom unique buttons that you can use in your Divi Wordpress theme here. If you're building any sort of website with WordPress, you really need to take a look at Divi. It just keeps getting better and better. The Divi theme is absolutely awesome. You can try it out from a link below this video. So let's get started and create some more unique buttons. In the last video we created a couple down here. And we're going to continue and do some more effective buttons that you can use to make your site eye-catching. So let's enable our visual builder. Obviously this is a Divi WordPress site here. And I'm going to enable the visual builder. Now our visual builder's enabled. Visual builder is great because it enables you to do everything in real time. So let's add a new section. I'm just going to add a regular section. And let's chuck 3 columns in there for a change. Okay, and before I actually put anything in there, I want to give this column a bit of height because we're going to have some animations going on. I want to give it some height so that they've actually got some room to move here. So let's go into its little cog here. And I'm going to go to the advanced, to the custom CSS. On the main element, I'm going to give it a height. Say 400 pixels. It's probably more than I need, but we can change it at a later date. And we'll give it a bit of padding top and bottom. So if we go to design and spacing, check that little link so they both do the same. And let's give it 50 pixels top and bottom. Padding there. And save that. Okay, so we got a bit of breathing room here to work with. As you can see, it's now 400 tall and it's got a bit of padding on the top. So let's add our little widget here. Now they've got buttons and they've got some great buttons, but we're going to try and create some unique buttons. So I'm going to use a text module. There it is. I'm going to get rid of the content that's there and put something in there. Let's say something simple like specials. And let's make that a heading. We'll say heading 3. Don't want it too big. Or you may want yours big, that's entirely up to you. Okay, now let's give it a background. Let's just scroll down a bit to background. And we'll give it a background color. Let's just use the blue color there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but let's now make that text stand out. So I've gone to the design tab. Remember we made it heading 3, so I've gone to heading text. H3 for heading 3, and I want it in the middle. I'm going to make it white so we can see it. There you go, you can see it. You can make it italic if you want to, or capitalized, or big and small caps, or underlined, or line through. Not quite sure why you want that, but you may have a sale, you may have a use for that. And let's give it a bit of padding. Top, bottom, left, right, and start making it look like a button. So let's scroll down. I'm still on the design tab, down to spacing. I'm going to check this little anchor link right there, the little thing. So I only have to put things in once, left, top, bottom, left, right. So I'll give it, say 25 top and bottom. There you see, it's giving it the padding. And you won't see anything here. I'll give it 30 left and right. I'll check that, so we've got them both in there because it's given it there and we're actually wider than that. Now I don't want my button to be quite as large as that, so let's go to the advanced tab. I'm going to give it a width. So let's go to advanced, custom CSS, main element, and I'm going to give it width, width. And I'm going to give it, let's say 200 pixels. That's it. That's about the right size for my button. Now let's make it into a pill button with the rounded corners. Back to design. Let's go to border. And here you can tell it what size borders you want. If you want a little bit round, you can give it sort of 20 pixels or something. So it gives it like that. But I want it pretty rounded, like what they call a pill. So I'm going to give mine 50. And that's pretty much going to do it. So there's our regular button. It doesn't go anywhere at the moment. And to make it go somewhere, we just hit the link button. And you can link to an external URL. If you're going externally, I would suggest you change this to in a new tab so your site stays open. But let's make it link to our... I know I've got a section down below here somewhere. Right here called specials. And it's got a CSS ID of specials. So to link to a CSS ID, I can just put hashtag and the name of the CSS ID, which is specials. Let's save that just to show you what I'm talking about. If I go to this section here, go to its cog, go to the CSS ID and classes, you'll see it's got an ID of specials. And IDs, CSS IDs have to be unique. You want only one name for an ID. Classes can have similar names because you can apply classes across different things. So let's go back up to our little button that we were dealing with. Okay, so we've got this button. It doesn't do a whole lot really. I mean, it's just a blue little box at the moment. So let's make it actually do something. Let's click back on its cog. And let's go down to background. And when we hover on it, I want it to change color. So if you just hover your mouse over where it says background in the dark legending there, you'll see this little arrow appear. You just click on it and then it'll give you two tabs, default and hover. So you can do different colors for default state and when your mouse hovers over it. So I want to click on hover and let's give it a color. I'm just going to use that green right there. So you can see when our mouse hovers over it, it's going to be that green. And when it doesn't, it's going to be that. All right, so now we've got a hover. What else do we want it to do? Well, let's make it jump up a little bit and have a box shadow underneath. So we'll go to our design and we'll go down to box shadow. And again, this is the one we want, but unfortunately, Divi doesn't allow us to put the box shadow in on the hover state there. But that's okay, we can just write it in with some custom CSS. So if we go to our advanced tab here, go to our custom CSS, what they've kindly done in our main element here, which is the whole element that we're working on here, is they have let us do it here. So if you click on that little arrow in the middle, you've got a default and a hover. What I want to do, this by default is aligned left. If you did want to push it over to the right, let's put a semicolon in there. You could say float right, float colon right, and it would push it over to the right side of the column. But I don't, I want it in the middle. So what I'm going to do is put some CSS in there, margin, colon, auto. And what that's going to do is going to put it in the middle there. So it's giving it an automatic margin of left and right. So it's centralized, which is what I want. Okay, so let's now go to our hover state. And in the hover state, let's make it jump up a little bit. Say 20 pixels, so we can do margin. We'll say top. And we'll give it a negative value, which will make it jump up. So we'll say minus 20 pixels. There we are, it's jumped up there, that's fine. And let's give it a box shadow underneath. So let's do a semicolon. And let's say box shadow. dash shadow. And we'll say, gosh, I don't know, 0, because we want it central. So we'll say 0 pixel central. And we'll say 20 pixels top and bottom, which is the amount we jumped up by. And we'll give it a spread, which will blur it out. So we'll say 15 pixels or so spread. I'll make it a little bit blurry. And the color's not too bad, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put black in, which is 000, and then adjust it. So I'm going to do hashtag 000, which is black. Well, actually, black is 6 zeros, but with CSS3, you only have to put 3 digits in if there are 6 all the same. Now that's okay, but that's way too dark. So we've got our little dot right here, black dot. I can click on that, and I'm going to drag the opacity down to somewhere where I think it's a little bit better. It's not dark enough. Perhaps something like that. Okay, so when we hover on it, that's what it's going to be. That's its regular state. So that works fine. But it's happening instantly, so let's make it happen a little bit slower. So we'll go to our default value, and I'm going to write in a transition. And let's write in, say, 3/4 of a second. Maybe too slow. So it's 0.75 because it's in milliseconds. Well, actually, that's a decimal. So it's 0.75, which is 3/4 of a second, S, and semicolon. That should make it just a little bit smoother. Well, let's say ease in and ease out. So ease in, and it's prompted me down that, so I'm just going to click on there, make it easier. That should smooth it out some. Okay. So let's just save our changes and see what we've got here. Hit the little purple button, save. Now we've got our check mark. Let's exit the visual builder. Go down to a button. There we go. That's what we've got. I think that works okay. Let's do another one. This time I'm going to do one that perhaps got a little neon glow effect going on. So let's add a new module. Again, I'll use the text. I'll just write that. Again, I'll make it, for expediency, I'll do it pretty similar to the last one. Heading 3, background. I want to make it a kind of blue color. I had one that I've used for this sort of thing before. I think this is it over here. Let's copy this. Just sort of light blue. Yep, that'll do fine. Again, we'll go and make our text white so we can see it. Obviously, you do yours exactly how you want to do it. Put it in the middle. We'll give it some padding. Scroll down a bit more to spacing. And again, use 25. And can't remember what I used before. Was it 30? Don't know. 30. And we want that on both sides. Go to the advanced. Custom CSS, and I want to give it a width of a same as we did last time, which was 200 pixels. Just move this so we can see what we're doing. And also I'm going to give it that margin auto so it's centralized, which looking at it is something we didn't do with these buttons down here. Margin : auto. There we are, that's now in the middle. And again, we'll give it some curly borders. .50 pixels. It's fine. So let's go down to the background. And again, we'll hit the little hover icon and we'll give it a white background on hover, which will basically take that background away. Clicking on the color palette there and just clicking on white. And we can't see anything because our text is white. So let's go and make our text so we can see it. It was at H3. And the text color, we want it on hover. I'll just put the blue in for the moment, but I want to use that same blue as I just used. So I hit the custom color and just paste it in there. And what I want to do is go down and give it a border just on the hover as well. Border style, there we are. Border width, just a pixel, just a little one. And I'll use that same blue color. That's fine. Now what I want to do is go to the Advanced tab. And again on the hover state, not the regular state, but the hover state, I want to give it a box shadow yet again. Say a box shadow that wants to be a lot wider than our last one. Again, I want it central. Don't really want it offset that much. So say box shadow colon 0 pixels. We'll just say 5 pixels. And we want a real big spread on it. So we'll give it, let's say 65 pixels, something large like that. Play with it, get it how you want it. 65 pixels. As you can see, we got it there, but I want to define that color. So I'm just going to paste that color in there. There we go. And it's got that sort of glow. And again, I want this to be transitioning a bit slower. So on my default, I'm going to say transition. And say half a second this time, 0.5 seconds. And again, ease in and ease out. And a semicolon on the end. Default hover. Now that looks okay, but it does actually look a lot better on a darker background, this sort of thing. I mean, I'm going to leave that for the time being. Let's just save those changes. And let's do another little button quickly. Same again. We use a little text one. And let's call this one circle. And what we're going to do is morph this one from a pill shape to a rounded circle. Background. Call it purple. Move this so we can actually see what's going on here. Again, let's make our text white. Actually, did I make that a heading? Heading text, text 3, white. There we go. Let's put it in the middle yet again. And again, I'm going to make it the same as the others. I'm going to give the main element a width of 200. Which is fine. I want to margin auto it so it's in the middle of the actual column itself again. It's fine. I'm going to put my transition in now. Again, we want it fairly long, so let's just say a second, because I'm going to have it transition from a pill shape to a circle. Now, for maybe should have mentioned this before, for what they call vendor prefixes, so it'll work in all browsers. You may want to copy that and put in -webkit-transition -transition, and then for Moz Firefox it's .moz dash. That way it'll be compatible with all browsers. I've been just banging along, just putting that one in, but just in case you want to make it cross-browser compatible, which is always a good idea, you might want to put those vendor prefixes in. Okay, so blah blah blah. We've got that, we've got this. Let's go to design and put our spacing in, which is 25 and 30, I believe, and check that little box there. And a rounded border radius. There we go. So we've got a little purple button there. Now then, see, the radius will actually let us do this thing on hover, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to hit that to get the hover state, and I'm going to change that from 50 pixels to 50%. 50%, which has made it an oval, but I want to make it a complete circle, so I've got to go back to our advanced. Again, main element in the hover state. Hover. And I'm going to give it a height 150 and a width of 150. So semicolon width there we go, 150 150. So that should have made it a circle. Now of course let's jump it up so it's still in line with these. So let's say, what does that look like? Difference in space, probably 70 pixels, 75 pixels. So let's say margin top. $75 pixels, that may be too much. I should do a negative version to jump it up. A regular version jumps it down. There we go. Or do we want it in the middle? Yeah, let's say 40. It should be sort of somewhere in the middle there. Middle of this line. 43. Okay, now of course we've got to push this text down a little bit, so we've got to add some padding. Let's put a semicolon over behind that in case we want to add some more. Go back to our design, go down to our padding, which is spacing, padding, and we'll click this, so we've got the hover state. We've got 25, and we can click the up arrow until we get our little circle. I'm just holding my mouse on it, clicking until you get that circle wherever it is you want it. About there, a little bit too much. About there. Okay, and we've given it transition and background color. Let's make it red on the hover. So click the little arrow. Click the color palette and let's click red. How's that? So default. Oh, okay. Looks like it's giving it the wrong sort of border on default. So let's have a look at that one more time. Yeah, see, it's giving it 50% on default. Okay. So let's put this back to 50 pixels. So we've got a pill, and okay, so it's doing that. So we may have to overwrite this. Let's actually overwrite this with a bit of CSS. Go to our custom CSS, So our main element again, hover. When we hover, we want to have it a border radius, border-radius of 50%. Let's make sure that's going to work. There we go. We've got our pill shape and we got our circle shape. That's great. So let's just save our changes. And of course you link those. I haven't linked those two buttons, but you link them exactly the same with that, just in your content tab. And hit on the link, and you can link it wherever you want it to go, whether it's a section like we did with that first one, or an external page, or one of your other pages. So let's save. Go over here, save. And exit the visual builder. So there's our three little buttons. We've got one that jumps and has a little shadow there. We've got the one that sort of glows. And we've got the one that turns into a little circle. So there's just three unique button ideas for you. Like I say, if you're interested in WordPress and you're designing any sort of WordPress site, do have a look at Divi. It's really worth your while. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have, please like or give the thumbs up and share and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in web development, take a look down below. We've got some great free courses down there, as well as some premium courses with some huge discounts for our YouTube subscribers. So do take a look. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.